About 3 years ago, I did a review of Zelos Nova, and it was something different from Zelos because usually they did diver watches. This time it was a dress watch. Fast forward to today, and there is a Nova 2, a version 2 of this dress watch. In today's video, we will do a review of it, point out all the positives and the negatives. Now, as always, let's begin by talking about the case. This dress watch is made out of 316L stainless steel. It features an all high polish finish, and it has a pretty good dress watch dimensions. 37mm case diameter, it's only 43.5mm from one lug to another. The lug opening is 20mm, and the watch is only 7mm in case height without the boxed sapphire crystal, and it's about 8.5mm in case height, including that sapphire. There is a crown at the 3 o'clock position. It is signed with Zelos logo, but it is not a screw down crown. Since this is a manual wind watch, I actually prefer it that way because you don't want to unscrew and screw the crown in each time you have to wind the watch. Since this is a dress watch, it doesn't really need a lot of water resistance. This one comes with 50 meters, which is okay to get your hands wet occasionally, but it's not enough in my opinion to really go swimming with. I guess once in a while it's okay, but I wouldn't be swimming with a 50-meter resistant watch all the time. I know I'm very conservative on my water resistance ratings, but that's just how I feel. As I alluded to earlier, this one does feature a boxed sapphire crystal, and I think the execution on the sapphire is excellent. It fits the aesthetic of this watch. It fits the design language that Zelos is going for here. I think it tells a story of this sort of neo-traditional dress timepiece. At the back, we find a display case back with a sapphire crystal. Now, the previous version of this watch had a screwed in place case back. This one here is actually screwed down. And of course, through this case back, we can see the movement. We're going to talk about the movement in a bit. As far as the feel of the watch in your hand, it does feel very substantial and solid. I know it's very hard to translate that over video. When you hold this watch in hand, it feels heavier than you would assume a 37mm dress watch would feel, and that's actually a good thing. On the wrist, it feels kind of solid and of good quality. There are a few different dial versions of this watch available. My favorite is probably the Aventurine one. I think that looks very sharp. Although I don't have that one in for the review, the one that I have is the teal one, which is also very attractive, and it's probably the easiest to read from the functional standpoint. I think Zelos does a pretty good job of balancing simplicity and complexity with this dial. From the simplicity standpoint, it's a pretty basic, simple dial, right? It has Arabic numerals all around the dial. It has the sub-seconds hand closer to the 6 o'clock position, and there's also that applied Zelos logo down there as well. The hands are sort of dolphin style hands. There's not really much sort of complexity going on. At the same time, it is still a pretty complex dial because of all the dial textures. First of all, we have this guilloche type pattern all around. These texture lines are all sort of merging into the center of the case, and it also has a bit of a sunburst effect. Out in the natural light, this watch just shines. It plays with the light in a very interesting manner. It's one of those things that you really have to see in person. I'll do my best to replicate it on video, but of course it's not the same. Also, the sub-seconds hand by the 6 o'clock position and that whole field is executed with a different texture, which is kind of unique. And I don't even know how they manufacture these dials. Is it 2 separate pieces? Is it 1 piece? Whatever they do to create this effect just works, at least for me. I think it looks complicated and simple at the same time. Of course, we have these applied indexes all around the dial, which at first it looks like they're connected to these circles, but they're not. They're all applied individually, which is of course more labor intensive. And there's also these dots going around the dial for each hour mark. Those are also applied. There isn't any loom on this watch, which is kind of rare for Zelos to have no loom, but at the same time, this is a true dress timepiece, and dress watches usually have no loom. The one thing that is kind of throwing me off about the balance of this dial is the fact that Zelos' logo is actually down at the 6 o'clock position as opposed to the more traditional sort of noon. I think for this design, it looks good, but I personally still prefer the more traditional look. Right now, that space, to me at least, just kind of looks empty, so that's the only change that I would make about the design of this watch. The previous version of this watch actually came with both the stainless steel bracelet and the leather strap. This new version only comes with the leather strap, and I think it's actually okay because if you watch the review of that version, yeah, I know it was 3 years ago, I preferred the watch on the leather strap. I think these dress watches, some of them work well on the bracelet, others don't, and I think this design wouldn't really work on the bracelet. On the leather strap is where it belongs. Now this one features a standard Horveen leather strap, which is of a very good quality. It smells like leather. Even to this day, it's been about, 2-3 weeks that I've had this watch and I wore it consistently, and it still has that leather smell. Now the thing about these straps, they're of a good quality, they're pretty thick, but they are pretty uncomfortable right out of the box. You have to sort of wear it in over a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks to really feel that comfort. But once you do wear it in and once it kind of conforms to your wrist, this leather strap is super comfortable. So if you get one of these watches or a watch with a Horveen leather strap, just be a little patient, wear it for a couple of days, couple of weeks, and it's gonna wear in and conform to your wrist, and then it's going to be one of the most comfortable watches you have. In terms of the hardware, it's pretty simple. It just features a tank buckle with Zelos logo. It also features quick release pins, which is a welcomed addition, so you can easily swap this black leather strap for a different color if you wish to do so. And there's a couple of stitches at the edges to kind of give it a little bit more of a vintage look to the strap. Other than that, yeah, it's pretty simple, but it looks good, and I think it belongs with the aesthetic of this watch. Here's the watch on my 7.25-inch wrist. I think overall it fits really well. It looks a little bit larger than the 37mm diameter would suggest. I think this one wears closer to about 38, at least in my opinion. Overall, it's a super comfortable watch because it's so thin. It wears like a true dress piece. You can easily wear this watch with any dress shirt. It should have no problem sliding under the cuff. And the crown at the 3 o'clock position doesn't dig into the wrist in any way. Sometimes watches with a very slim profile have crowns that kind of protrude past the case, and then they are a little uncomfortable to wear. Happy to say, not the case with this one. And as I already briefly talked about, these Horveen leather straps are very comfortable once you wear them in. They kind of conform to your wrist, so I have no problem with the comfort of this watch. Now these watches are powered by the ETA 7001 handwound movements. They beat at 21,600 vibrations per hour. They have 17 joules and about 43 hours of power reserve. First of all, beautiful movement to look at. There is quite a bit of decoration going on. You see some Geneva striping, you see some blue screws, you see some exposed jewels. This movement is even stamped with the Zelos logo, which is kind of cool. The previous version of this watch also featured the same movement, but it wasn't customized for the Zelos. I think now as the brand grows, they have a little bit more pull and they can do some nicer things for the movement and movement finishes. So I do appreciate those little touches. There are countless other big brands that used a version of this movement in their watches. One of the biggest ones is Nomos. For years, they used this movement in their watches until they came up with their own in-house movement. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing for Zelos of what's to come in the future. Maybe eventually they develop their own in-house movement. That'd be kind of cool to see. But for now, the use of this movement is perfectly justified. And of course, because the movement is nicer and because the finishes are pretty nice, this comes with a higher price point. I think the biggest divisive factor will be the design of this piece. Of course, design is very subjective. Some people will like it, some people will not. If you like the design and if you're okay with the price, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this watch. I have very few negatives to say about it. It's just a good, solid dress watch with pretty good specs and a very attractive look, at least in my eyes. I appreciate you watching this video all the way until the end. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the Zelos. Are you gonna buy one? Are you letting this one go? Leave your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching this video all the way until the end. Thanks for putting up with my dog snoring in the background. I know it's very loud, but there's nothing I can do about it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.